The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Cosplay Alliance, our partners and affiliates. This episode of the Cosplay Alliance podcast may contain coarse language or sensitive subject matters. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Autobots, transform and roll out. Here we are, Cosplay Alliance podcast. Again, live here on Monday night. And we are going to be talking about Transformers 1. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review. We're going to get our thoughts, feels, and what we think about the new Transformers movie. But let's introduce our esteemed panel of guests. So the screen I'm looking at, the guy right beside me on my right, maybe your left, Ryan.
Hello. How's it going, everybody?
Ryan is also a co-host with me on our other podcast, Tales from Collectiverse. So
yes, where we talk about all kinds of toys and fun collectibles.
Yeah, so no, we're glad we're able to cross the two podcasts together, and you can do Tales of Cosplay Alliance. And next to Ryan, we got Futuristic.
Hey everybody, Futuristic Cosplay, Cal, huge Transformers fan, as evidenced by what I'm wearing, and really excited for this episode of the podcast.
Perfect. Below Futuristic, we got Kira.
Hello there. It's great to be back on. I grew up with Transformers pretty much like my whole 20 years of existence. So it's pretty epic to be back here and talk about something I haven't really talked about much ever.
Perfect. Well, and moving clockwise over to Anthony, the man himself.
Yes, my name is Anthony. I didn't really grow up watching Transformers as much as the other cartoons that I watched, but I did love it when Michael Bay took his turn on it. But I will be coming into this as more of a casual moviegoer. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt, please, and don't come for me. Don't come for my head.
You know what? Being a casual observer means this movie could be a launching point for you as a Transformers.
Well, I am a fan, but I mean, I'm not so deep into the lore as some of you might be. So there's things that you told me that I didn't even know, So, yeah.
All right. So finishing off our panel is Swaggertron, Bruno.
Hello. It's good to be here. I've heard great things and I've seen great things. I'm a huge Transformers fan and also into cosplay as well. I was into Transformers as a kid. That was pretty much a solo hobby. But now as I've been becoming more and more of a cosplayer, that's a much more social hobby. I'm seeing all the Transformers fans come out of the woodwork, and it's really nice to connect with everyone there.
Awesome. Well, just as far as myself, my connection to Transformers, been collecting the Transformers since 1984. And then about 1989, I found a screwdriver and started taking things apart. And next thing you know, everything wound up in the garbage, except for Optimus Prime, who is still one of my top 5 characters of all time. And I don't mean just as in Transformers. I mean across all nerddom. I absolutely love Optimus Prime. So, all right, Transformers 1. It was released by Paramount and Hasbro Films, and it came out 2 weeks ago. First off, what's everyone's general thoughts of the movie? And I'm going to play random here. How about Kira? What are your thoughts of Transformers 1?
Hi. So my thoughts on it, it was weird because like when I first saw it, I was like, it's all right. But then I started like thinking about it. I was like, actually, wait, no, this is pretty great because my brain has just been so rotted by like I love the Bayverse, and that's what I grew up on. And I've noticed with like some other people I talked to, it's just like that's what we know the Transformers as. And I remembered my time with Gen 1, just like, wait, Optimus Prime actually isn't a psychopathic serial killer. And I just wasn't used to seeing that anymore because like most of what I saw was the Bayverse. I saw Prime like a little bit when I was a kid. Like Prime was probably like my favorite Transformers show other than G1, but it was a nice refresher to see like it felt like some of the characters went back their roots. Like Bumblebee was like way more talkative. Like it was exact 180 of Bayverse. It was great. And it like seeing Optimus Prime being like becoming that charismatic leader that we all know of, and was like all like those seeds were already at the start, and it's just like it was a great arc for like pretty much all the characters. It was just like it was a really great all around movie. Like it felt like the characters were balanced pretty well. Like it was really good. I loved it.
All right. How about you, Bruno?
I loved it from the start. I was a huge Bayverse fan as well. I started off with, I was born in '95, so I never got to see the Transformers in their heyday in the '80s. But I loved Armada. That was my show when I started, Transformers Prime, and those were pretty good versions of having Optimus as a stoic leader. However, going into the Bayverse, I loved it, obviously. A big fan of CGI and what Michael Bay has done for the movie industry. But like Kira said, Optimus was a very different version of what he was. So seeing it in Transformers 1 and seeing I think it was a great origin story. When the third act started, I was like just really, really happy that this was an unarguably good movie. And just beyond a Transformers movie, it's also a good movie. Seeing Optimus and Megatron, I'd love to talk more about how both of them just really show two completely different leadership styles, taking and giving, receiving and conquering, rising up versus kneeling down. Just seeing how that happens and the growth. And for Transformers fans like some of us who watch it all, we could see the little roots in the beginning. We could see how Megatron or D16 was responding to certain things, whereas Orion Pax respond to certain situations. And you could see those little decisions at the beginning of the movie culminate into why they made the final decisions. Why does Megatron get born that way? And why does Optimus get recreated this way? And just seeing that all together and having a definitive origin story where for my friends who aren't really Transformers fans, I can just point them at one movie. Like, hey, if they ask any Transformers question, I can say, hey, just look at Transformers 1. It answers every single question besides the big, how do they get to Earth? Which I hope will be in a sequel or something.
There we go. Cal, how about you?
I actually kind of came into this a little weird because I was clinging so tightly to the medias that I was already a fan of, Bayverse, Transformers Prime, Beast Wars, etc. I'm also a really big fan of the IDW comic universe. It's just
So
really
good.
really well done, and this just kind of didn't seem up my alley. The casting didn't seem up my alley. The concepts they were dealing with didn't seem up my alley. And then over the course of from like spring to this summer, I did a full 180 about it, and I am the biggest hype man now for it. I saw it at the August screening back middle of August. I got the print from that event. And after seeing it that time, I've seen it 5 times at this point in time, and I'm still not over it. It's just a unbelievably well-crafted origin story. I knew after I saw it once, I was like, okay, so they literally took X-Men First Class beat for beat and put it in space with robots. I'm there. I'm all for it.
I did not even think of
So, yeah, it's just an unbelievably well-crafted movie, standing apart from the Transformers franchise even, and it's an amazing Transformers movie. And from what the director said at the screening that I was at 2 weeks ago, there aren't any firm plans, but they're hoping for a trilogy, and they've got ideas, and they've got concepts that they want to play with, so I'm really hoping we get to see those play out.
Interesting. All right. See, now Anthony and Ryan, I've already talked to you guys offline, so I already know what your thoughts are. So now it's going to be 50-50. Let's go, Anthony. How about you? What's your thoughts?
I think the first half of the movie was a little bit slow. I wasn't really into it the first half of it, but it picked up. The only thing, as I said, I couldn't stand was the voice of Optimus. But as I said, I showed you that interview with Chris Hemsworth, and what he said made sense. Towards the end of the movie, you could tell he was putting on more of a Peter Cullen type of tone with his voice. But if Kelsey's saying they're doing a trilogy, I don't see how he's going to reprise that role if he's going into that Peter Cullen type of tone. You might as well just bring Peter Cullen to do it.
Yeah. Okay, Ryan, your thoughts?
I enjoyed the movie. Was it perfect? No, it's not. It's not the '86 animated movie. No, come on, that one's the best one of all. We all know that. I am an old man, so I saw that in theaters, much like Ed did.
I wasn't born yet.
See, like I said, a little biased. Yes, also a fan of the Bayverse stuff, except for some of them, but we won't get into those. I enjoyed the movie. I had fun. Being a reader of the IDW book and the new Skybound book, and knowing, having read some of those stories and getting all that kind of backstory, seeing an animated version of their friendship getting told, getting fleshed out was good. My movie going experience could have been better. The person next to me kept playing on his phone, and I didn't have it in me to tell him to put his phone away. I thought he was getting important messages, but apparently he wasn't. Was he, Ed?
Who, me? No, I was actually getting messages during the movie. All right, so me, I might be the most unpopular guy in the chat room right now. I hated this movie.
Ooh, spicy.
I absolutely hated the movie.
Hot takes. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's hear it. Get canceled.
The casting was completely wrong. I love Chris Hemsworth. He should never have been Orion Pax or Optimus Prime. Brian Tyree Henry was good. I liked him as D16. I could kind of get with it, but by the time he got to Megatron, I didn't like how the delivery was in the voice. The character arc between the characters, when you start off as D16 and Orion Pax and getting to Megatron and Optimus Prime, was too quick. It was all of a sudden, oh yeah, by the way, we got this transforming cog in our chest, and all of a sudden I'm going to be a leader and a hero, not a goofball. I'm like, that there was no, it seemed too quick. Like, you don't become a leader and earn the matrix of leadership, just all of a sudden be what? You sacrifice yourself for what's his name?
Sentinel Prime.
Sentinel Prime. So that makes you all of a sudden worthy to wield the Matrix. Now there were elements I liked about it. I liked how Steve Buscemi did Starscream. I was kind of cool with that because it's kind of like that sniveling Chris Latta sounding how Starscream was. As I said, I love Shockwave. Seeing him on screen, I'm like, cool, I'm good with Shockwave. Even some of the comedy with him, I'm like, okay, I will take this part of comedy with Shockwave. I wasn't a big fan of it. I also hated the comedy in it. To me, it played too much to kids. Like, other animated movies kind of play that nice blend of some adult jokes and some kid jokes, and you meet it in the middle. I thought there was too much like goofy kid stuff, in my opinion, I guess. But also, it's an animated movie. Every version of Transformers is supposed to attract that generation of kids. So I get it. I
was going to say, this is rated PG, so you kind of got to bear that in mind.
Yeah. I think we got away with a couple things.
I felt, too, it would have been better off just being a Paramount Plus exclusive instead of in theaters. Going through, I was like, I just did not have a lot of fun watching it. There were elements that shined for me, but overall, I hated the movie. I just did not like it at all. So, but that being said, what is everyone's favorites of them? Like, what are some of your favorite parts or your highlights? I'm going to play random again, so let's go with Ryan.
Oh, of course, you would go to me when I'm not ready. I don't know if I had one standout highlight point of the movie. Like I said, I liked the movie, but I don't know if there was any one particular segment that jumped out at me. Sorry, I don't really have an answer.
Okay.
I am a horrible person to be on here tonight.
How about you, Cal?
If I had to pick one, well, it's not really one moment, it's kind of two. If I had to pick like one story element, one event.
Sorry, Megatron was right.
We're doing the Magneto thing again.
I've been looking for a shirt. Haven't found one yet. My favorite event moment was the bit in the race where Orion catches D16 when he goes over the edge of the racetrack, and then calling back to that at the very end when D16, just about to be Megatron, drops him into the core of the planet. I just really like that little callback moment.
Bruno. Favorite part.
My favorite scene, kind of what you're saying, is kind of when there's still D16 and Orion Pax at the time, but they are enacting their plan, and Megatron or D16 is captured with Bumblebee. Elita 1 is with the troops, and Orion Pax goes to all the miners. And this is a point where it really shows, like, for the first time, how he is a leader. Where we have Starscream, we have D16, we have Sentinel, all like trying to gain power. And there were so many cool scenes in the movie. My favorite is when Orion Pax, or Future Optimus, is talking to all the miners, and he actually kneels down. And it's the first time you see it in a movie where no one's trying to claw for power, no one's trying to gain it, no one's lying, no one's doing anything. It's the first time where you actually see, whether or not it's rushed or not, it is only an hour and a half movie, you see that this is a leader. This is someone who knows his audience, who's talking to them. It's not a fight scene. There's no rising action. It's just a camera with a bunch of little cameos in the background. It just, for me, that showed me, like, this is Optimus. Like, I would trust this guy. And if it's rushed, it's rushed. But it proved to me that, this is the leader. This is the person I'd want to support. And it made me further understand where Megatron or D16 comes from, but that, yes, of course I should be supporting Optimus. Of course he's here for the people. Of course, now that he has it all together, I'm with it. It's different than the Michael Bay things where Optimus would stand behind an American flag and tell that, oh, we're about to kill everybody here. You guys better be ready for an hour of explosions. He still gives his iconic Optimus speech, but it wasn't epic in an action scene. It was epic as a, damn, this is Optimus Prime. It's not Peter Cullen anymore. That was my favorite scene in the movie. That made me feel confident in everything going forward. I like that a lot.
Oh, perfect. Kira, how about you?
No, I was just saying, Gussie. Yeah, I agree. I agree with. If I could touch quick on what Gussie said, I agree with Gussie. I think my favorite part of the movie is when Megatron kind of stood up when he was captured. I think a lot of oppressed people felt that it felt really good to see him stand up for what he believed in at that point. Yeah, that's probably my favorite part of the movie.
No, that was pretty good. Kira, how about you?
I will say, before I get into like my favorite parts, like, yeah, if I was in that situation, I would definitely side with Megatron. Like, yeah, kill them all. But anyway, so my favorite part of the movie was, well, when it's kind of cliche, is when like Orion became Optimus, because like it did feel a little bit too fast with the pacing to me, but it did feel kind of earned, because like he was goofy, but you could see like the cracks of his leadership's like kind of like showing through, and it was like a little more and more until it was that final like moment where he had to like, where he made that decision to like prevent the death of like the person who enslaved them for the greater good, to like pure justice or whatever. I'm not good at saying things, but it felt earned, because like that was the Optimus that a lot of G1 people grew up with, and I also kind of actually grew up with G1 because my parents like showed it to me. I was like, okay, this is actually pretty cool, and like that's the one Optimus I knew, and seeing that rise again in like a natural way, in a way that felt earned, was pretty great. Because I find it really funny, again, with the comparison of like him saying about like how we shouldn't kill him, like he rarely says that, and then I think in my head it's just like any scene in the Bayverse where Optimus like, I will kill them all. And it's just nice to see like Optimus kind of like return to what Optimus originally was, that strong hero that what was what the thing Pierre Collins said, it was strong enough to be gentle. And that's kind of what I got from that vibe. And also like Chris Hemsworth's voice, it was like, if you were a casual audience member, you'd be like, you would not probably be able to discern like how he sounded at the end of the movie versus Peter Cullen if you were casual, because he did a pretty good impression. Although like I kind of wish he did a little different direction, but it was still cool.
Okay, so how about some
If we're talking
lows?
about voices and everything.
Sorry, what's that?
Sorry, I just want to say, like, we talked a few times, Chris Hemsworth's voice, I think, well, going back to there, Peter Cullen has done an amazing job as Optimus for 40 years now, and we're going to a point where it's unfortunate that he's reaching, like, the end of his life and or career, and we have to go, I don't want to, like, what Star Wars is doing, they're saying, are we going to bring AI, are we going to CGI the character in, or are we going to move on? Are we going to do, like, a Governor Tarkin and CGI Peter Cullen, Luke Skywalker, or are we going to bring in a superstar like Chris Hemsworth, or could they have brought in a nobody actor or a voice actor? Because whoever lands Optimus's role is probably going to have that role forever. Whoever's next after Peter Cullen, it's going to be a huge thing for them. I think they made a strong choice choosing Chris Hemsworth. It's a household name, and that man already has job security, but this only helps him. But when we talk about, the biggest complaint I see is everyone says, like, it's not Peter Cullen. My only problem with that is, like, it can't be Peter Cullen forever.
Nope.
And we would have to move on.
Yeah, there's been other times when Optimus Prime has been voiced by other actors.
Yeah.
Like Prime, I think Transformers Animated. That wasn't Peter Cullen in those instances. I don't
Animated
think
was David Kay.
Yeah,
And I just like like if you like listen, it's like there's a natural progression of Chris's voice to the point at the end of the movie where it's just slightly more like leader-y, if that makes sense.
Yep.
As it like progresses. I really like that. It's like part of his development as Orion.
Well, how about the rest of the casting here? So, like, so we got Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. We have Scarlett Johansson as Alita. Steve Buscemi's in it. Jon Hamm as Sentinel Prime. How about the rest of the voice casting? Did anybody stand out, or the sound fit that the characters? Anybody have a thought off top, or
Keegan-Michael Key as B127 or Bumblebee. It was great. High energy and just lonely, and really excited to have new friends that could actually talk to him.
Not Steve.
Oh, poor Steve.
Okay, we need to get it right. Actually, it's Dazzletron.
I did like that where every time he said it, he would like stop and have the pose.
Yeah.
So that was neat. Like Scarlett Johansson as Alita 1, I thought she did a good job as Alita. That I didn't even really hear Scarlett Johansson. It was like, with Orion Pax, like with Chris Hemsworth, I could hear Chris Hemsworth. That's the voice I could hear. I think Scarlett Johansson just really blended into the character. That she didn't stand out as, oh, wait a minute, that's like Black Widow or Natasha or something like that. It's she kind of embodied that voice. Also, I'm not sure who did the casting who did the voice work for Soundwave, but even though Soundwave is always fully digital sounding, it sounded what you think Soundwave should sound like.
I can grab his Twitter. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but yeah.
And like, I think Brian Tyree Henry, like again, I think he did good in parts, but there was other parts where it was just I didn't quite feel his voice either. But again, it's big shoes to fill. Like, figure Megatron classically was done by Frank Welker, and Frank is, does everything. How about some lowlights in the movie? What's some of people's least favorite parts? I'm gonna go with Anthony.
But the only thing that I had a problem with was the voice. As I said to you, was Chris Hemsworth's voice, and I think it was very hard for me to get used to it. Not knowing what they were trying to do with that at the point. It's similar to like James Earl Jones as Mufasa, or even Mario. I think they were trying to take that route what they did with Mario, and they changed his voice for the movie, and it worked for Mario. But I think everyone's so used to hearing Peter Cullen as Optimus that it was very hard for me to get used to. Not saying I didn't get used to it, but it was very hard to accept this change. And I know it's inevitable, it's going to come, but That was my only issue with the movie. Otherwise, I think everyone's voice acting was spot on. There's only so much you can do with animation, right?
Yeah. How about you, Cal? Any lowlights in the movie?
The low point for me was the runtime. I needed at least another hour, and the rating needed to be increased to at least PG-13.
I think that would help my pacing problem with it.
That they lowballed it so far to get the broadest possible audience that I think it negatively impacted the story. So I think if they had actually gone a little higher and dedicated a little bit more time, the story and pacing would have been tighter.
Okay. Bruno.
I agree with Cal as well. I think it's the same problem with the previous Transformer as well, Rise of the Beasts. Great movie, but tamed down to get like as much of an audience as possible. So they whereas the Bayverse, we could argue their quality, but what they knew and they did it super strongly. Rise of the Beasts and Transformers 1 are great movies, but they seem very muted because of they want to get as many people as possible to see it, from casual viewers to casual nerds to big time Transformer nerds. Yeah. But my least favorite part of the movie were the Quintessons. I like their design, but they felt like just kind of like a throwaway alien race or whatever. And they have a lot of lore in the original Transformers, and they come here and there in other parts. But in this movie, they were kind of just there as like a slight misdirect, so you don't fully suspect Sentinel Prime at the beginning. And they're there as drones to be killed off against the Primes, but they didn't really do anything besides be a plot point for the robots going forward. And we had a whole second act where they were like this big threat, and then we never really got like a conclusion with that. Like they're still out there, but they weren't the threat, but now they are. I don't know, just the way I understand they wanted to focus on other things, but bringing in the Quintessons and leaving that open-ended was my least favorite part of the movie.
The Quintessons, they kind of felt like just like the bad guy drones in the Matrix. And I think the Quintessons, I think the Quintessons, definitely a lot more that they can do with them, and maybe in future installments might explore that more. All right, Ryan, how about you?
Well, did we even see a real Quintesson? We saw all their minions, but we never saw a 5-headed Quintesson.
No, it didn't.
So that was my biggest disappointment. Like we see them
show
up.
Their leader was the one.
Yeah, but that's the guys from
5 heads.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't see them. That was kind of disappointing. You know, when you hear all the build up.
Like judges, not the actual Quintessons.
Yeah. When they start dropping Quintessons, there's expectations there. It wasn't met, but that's with movie 2 or 3, and part of this movie is to sell toys. So the like you said, with the lowering the rating, it's to appeal to more kids. It's so parents feel safe with their kids, and then they're going to go out and buy an Orion Pax and an Optimus Prime and a D16 and all those different steps we saw of their evolution. There's toys of those, and but it's a kids movie. Like I'm a 44-year-old man and I'm watching this kids movie because it's ingrained in my DNA to watch this franchise. But it can't be everything we want it to be, even though we want it to be everything we want it to be.
How about you, Kira? Anything that you didn't really like in the movie?
Yeah, there wasn't anything I really didn't like. Like maybe things that could be improved upon. I could make the argument with the Quintessons. Like this is like the origin movie for some of the most iconic characters in all of science fiction. So I can see the sacrifice they may have needed to make to do proper development for these characters, since this is a new continuity. So I can see an argument for that, but for me personally, if there was anything if there's one thing to improve, it would be the whole thing with Sentinel Prime with me, because it didn't feel like anything special. It was a classic. Oh, the good guy is actually the bad guy the whole time. Basically run-of-the-mill stuff with that. And also, if you watch Transformers 3, they already did that with Sentinel, because when they did it, I was like, oh yeah, I should have seen that happen. They already did this before.
He actually has the same weapon.
Yeah.
from Dark of the Moon.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
yeah,
we're
yeah. It's just like they already did this. It's like, okay, just in a slightly different way. Cool. He made a deal with another people too. It's the same thing. Like, it's not bad. It's just could have been done better.
Yeah. For myself, as I said, I didn't really like the movie, but I started off probably the worst part of the movie was the opening title card for Hasbro Films.
Oh, yes.
I got so upset because they show the title. Like, okay, it's like it shows Optimus, and then it shows like Mr. Potato Head, and then it shows like Peppa Pig and all that. One of Hasbro's biggest toy properties is G.I. Joe, and you wouldn't show G.I. Joe and the evolution of all the little toys.
They even teased it in the last one.
Yeah, I looked at Ryan. I said, "What the is this crap? They don't even show G.I. Joe with like it's one of the most iconic Hasbro brands." So it's like right off the beginning of the movie, I was in a bad mood.
It's already weird since they're already like teasing like the next like live action Transformers is going to be a Transformers G.I. Joe team up.
Yeah.
Which I will be honest, when I saw that in the theater, that was the last thing I ever expected, and I just burst out in laughter because I just didn't expect that.
Rise of the Beast, I did not expect like when he flips a card over and they show the Falcon logo like right there. Yeah. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh my god! Like I figured it was going to be Sector 7, not G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I love that movie, but that part has to be my favorite just because of how left field that was for me.
Yeah, I never saw that coming. Now, speaking about the future of Transformers, so we've got, I'm taking it from the panel that Transformers 2 would be a welcome addition. I'm safe in assuming so from everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Where would you like to see Transformers 2 go? Let's start with Cal, because I know you've seen the movie 5 times, so you probably have a whole idea what you would like for a plot and theme for Transformers 2.
It's like it's this tightrope between what you as a fan, as a dedicated fan, want to see and want to see the characters go through versus what you saw in movie 1 and know they're kind of limited by. So it's just kind of deciding what to sacrifice, what to include, all that. I don't know how you cram 4 to 5 million years of a civil war into a single film. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know how far we're going to get. I don't know if we're going to get all the way to Earth, or if we're just going to be jumping through the galaxy off of Cybertron, or if we're going to be staying on Cybertron for most of it, which I would personally be more interested in, since the humans are my least favorite part of Transformers. I would love to see more Cybertron-focused storytelling, but I have no idea what their plans are. Cooley at the screening said, I think I mentioned earlier, they don't have any sort of set jumping off point. They don't have any sort of like step-by-step instructions to fill out movie 2, movie 3. They have ideas and concepts that they want to play with and that they'd like to expand on, but all of that has to be greenlit following the success of this film and how well it does. So I have no idea. I would rather it be focused on Cybertron. I would rather it be more IDW flavored than anything else. And it definitely has been a bit IDW flavor, which I appreciated. But we'll see where it goes. I'd love to see movie 3 as the inevitable like reluctant alliance between the Autobots and the Decepticons against either the Quintessence Final Stand or against Unicron. Who knows who we're bringing at the last moment? So yeah, we'll see.
That would be an interesting final arc, is because you've got D16 and Ryan Pax starting off as friends, and then them having to be allies at the end.
Yeah, I feel like it would really close the loop of the story and close the arc in a really satisfying way, because this universe, the thing about Transformers is there is no canon. There's just a multiverse of all these different medias and all these different takes on the franchise. So this one stands alone in setting up this extremely close, profound connection between these two characters that I would love to see pay off at the arc of the third movie and say, okay, they need to find common ground again after all this fighting, after all this strife. and decide for the greater good that they need to do this. So.
How about if Megatron sacrificed himself at the end of the third movie and then is resurrected? Like at the end of the movie, he sacrifices himself to save Optimus Prime, and then in a cut scene, then he's reconstituted as Galvatron.
I would personally love that. It would be a great narrative payoff. I have no idea if they've got the balls to do it, so we'll see. But with the relationship that they set up in this one, it's a very, very close, profound connection. And to not have that pay off in any way at the end of the story would just be like, why did you waste all of that then? So I'd love to see that. That would be great.
Yeah. Bruno, how about you? Where do you want to see the future of the Transformer One-verse?
I think I'm actually might be on the opposite side. A big thing with movies, you usually have, like, if you want to talk about The Matrix or Star Wars, the originals, you have the first one, which is a good standalone, and then by the time a movie gets a sequel, they're probably already planning for a third movie as well. So the purpose of a sequel is to hype up the audience, bring in new characters, and then give like a crazy cliffhanger ending for the third one to wrap up. And we have a great setup right now where we have the main four cast, as well as Starscream, Shockwave, and Soundwave. And then we know in the background there's Ironhide, RC, all those. I think if there was a sequel, it should start off with, like, my disagreement, which is like bringing in the Quintessons, like maybe having the Autobots fighting them, and something happens. Because right now, Cybertron is owned by the Autobots, and in most Transformers canon, by the time they come to Earth, the Decepticons own Cybertron. The Decepticons in the war has ruined the planet. So we're ending the first movie on a super high note with the Autobots owning Cybertron. It's a big victory. The rivers are flowing with Energon. I think the second one would be we bring in the Quintessons, and there's a shady alliance between the Autobots and Decepticons. And at the end of it, Megatron gets his revenge, betrays Optimus, and that's when like the Civil War starts. And I'm not exactly sure how, but at some point, I would love if the Decepticons get control of Cybertron. Like if we see more of people who think Megatron was right. We think about more of just not just a good versus evil, but the shades of gray in there, and maybe Optimus and Chris Hemsworth, they're not the leader that we think they are. He's actually messing up a little bit, and people are starting to side more with Megatron. They think like, hey, the Quintessons are attacking. Let's do the same thing we do with Sentinel Prime. Just kill them immediately and wipe them out. And Optimus is like, no, let's find a solution. Let's work together with them. And people start to join with the Decepticons. Because right now it's just Megatron and the High Guard. I would love for the second one to be the start of the Civil War, seeing it more as we get all these new characters. Why does Cybertron fall to the Decepticons? What makes people change from this hopeful Autobot viewpoint to Megatron was right? We actually need complete power, complete control, and we will destroy the planet to get that. That's what I would like in a sequel and a third movie. Whether they come together for Unicron or, like in the video games, they actually have to leave to go to Earth. Something there, but I would love to see Cybertron fall for the Decepticons and see what makes good-natured Autobots who were just given everything. They just got their cogs, they got endless Energon, they live a good life. Where does the roots of deception, Decepticons hit? That's my spiel. I would love to see that.
Perfect. Anthony, how about you? Where do you want to see the Transformers sequel?
I can't really say. I mean, as I said, I don't really know much about the lore. Based on what Kelsey's saying, it's there's no canon. I was going to ask a question for the diehard fans here. Were there any parts of the movie that were so different from the actual source material that it upset you? Because I know that Ed was saying that that's not how Optimus got the what do you call it again?
The Matrix.
Yeah.
Matrix.
So were there any things like that upset you in the movie, or that was different from the source material?
Well, that's the thing. There is no source material. There is no one Bible to follow. There's so many different iterations, and there's so many different canons. This is kind of like a grab bag, taking inspiration from all sorts of places. So
okay.
No.
Yeah, the having them all those miners be cogless and not being able to transform was a different take on things.
Yeah, that was new. I
just to have a whole
that,
lower class now. Yeah,
and
it
a great
wasn't a bad
toy
change.
magnet.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, great for toys.
Collect all the cogs of all the primes. $40 per pack.
All I want is a full-size replica Matrix of Leadership that lights up. That's all I want.
You want it so you can like hold it over your
I should
head.
build that actually.
They
Hold
literally
on.
gave that away at the San Diego panel. Who won
I
that?
know. No, they.
You know, after I'm
they're
done
not-
this, I'll build a Matrix of Leadership. Okay, how about that?
I don't
Yes.
think they've made a retail version for sale. They've had a few that they were giving away or that they showed off at San Diego, but they haven't actually made a replica yet.
Maybe
But there's
Kaz
all
I'm
kinds
on
of
it.
3D
I got
plans
you.
out there.
I got you.
Ed, you have a 3D printer. You live near me.
I do. What are you talking about? I don't know, Ryan. You're kind of going like all
As he
all
actively
early on
tosses them out the window.
I can be at your
Sorry,
house
you can't
before
join us
you
anymore,
can.
Ryan. We'll see you later.
If I only had my Ender free behind me, I could have like done a demonstration.
How about you,
got
Kara?
mine.
How
I do
about,
3D modeling for my toys, so I can make a Matrix of Leadership for cosplay purposes too.
Hey, you model it, I'll make it. Hit me up, bro.
I'll message you after.
Bet.
Kara, how about you? What would you want to see in the future of Transformers 1?
First of all, I think Cybertron should blow up and then Optimus Prime flies into space and freezes again. No, actually, so I already I kind of thought of like a way to like continue it, and it's basically what a lot of you guys have said. But first things first, keep Unicron away from this trilogy because like they did it in Rise of the Beast.
Strong opinion.
They did it in like another movie, just like give Unicron a little bit. Oh yeah, they did it in the Last Night. But give Unicron a little bit of a break and think about how to implement him later. And I say keep him away from this trilogy. So you can make this like I think you could do 2 trilogies. And here's what I'm thinking of setting up the second one. So first one, do the war for Cybertron. Like set up the Civil War, do the Civil War, and have the Quintessons kind of like as this Thanos level threat building up in the background, and maybe they have like a little bit of influences here and there on the direction of the war. And then third movie, everything comes to a head. The ultimate threat comes. The Quintessons come back full force, 5 heads as they should be, and the Autobots and Decepticons realize they've both been duped and this whole time, and so they have to make an alliance to fight against the Quintessons, and then boo fight, yada yada yada, and then Megatron. I forget which one you said about Megatron giving a sacrifice. Which one was that?
Well, that was Ed, and then I.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was Ed. So Megatron makes a sacrifice for Optimus, and the planet is just basically almost left in ruins. So like there's your setup, and then for like the Decepticons take over soon after, like, oh, they're deceiving. They're Decepticons. Oh, they took over the planet, and so the Autobots have to leave after. And then you have the post-credit scene where like Megatron's corpse is floating through space, and then lo and behold, there's Unicron, and then it cuts when Unicron starts reassembling Megatron in the Galvatron. I believe that's how G1 did it, if I remember. It's been years since I saw G1. So you do that setup with G1, and then you have a setup for a second trilogy. That's kind of how that's a general outline I thought of.
There we go. How about you, Ryan?
I'm out toy sales.
How about you, Ryan? How about the future of Transformers?
There's been so many great stories told in the different properties, like comics and the previous cartoons and trilogies, and that's so open. You almost have to do something with the Civil War, but it's how are they going to get to that? Because, like you said, they're almost in a new golden age. You know, Energon's flowing. They're going to move back from the inside Cybertron back to the outside. You assume, since they can now, they're not going to be, they're not being held back without energy. But what's going to be the thing that causes, other than now Megatron just, I want to take over, I'm Megatron, but to make a good story, you need more than just that. Like, what's going to be the breaking point? Because I'm sure, as far as Optimus is concerned, if they want to go out and live on their side of the planet and do their thing, that's fine. We'll do our thing, and everybody can live in harmony. Maybe the Energon stops flowing. You know, in all the other iterations that we've seen, that's a big thing. Energy, Cybertron runs out of energy, and that's what they're fighting over. So,
And then the Fire Nation attacked.
exactly.
So we just have that situation.
But I think the more interesting, if we do the whole sacrifice, would be Optimus sacrifices himself and saves Megatron, like he tried to do. And then this gets Megatron to kind of come away from his destructive ways and gives that up, similar to the IDW storylines when he becomes an Autobot. Yeah, you could end the trilogy, the trilogy that way. Then you could do the whole setup where you get the evil Optimus Prime. Can't think of his name. Thank you, Nemesis, and that could set up your next trilogy.
After last night, I never want to see Nemesis Prime again.
Yes, no, that was horrible. We don't talk about that movie anymore. Come on.
Oh, right. Let's.
I think it's one of the better ones.
Ooh, there's a hot take.
Got a hot take.
Sorry, you're breaking up.
On
What was
site. On site.
Nah, man, I got a lot on Transformers 5. It came at a crazy time when everything was doing a multiverse, so they had a huge panel of super smart writers they put them all together. However, the biggest flaw of the movie is that they didn't say no to any idea. So if you take any one scene from the movie, it's hypothetically a cool idea. You have Merlin, you have the Knights, you have Cybertron crashing, you have Nemesis Prime. Hypothetically, all their ideas individually are good, but you put it all together with a director who wants to make as much money as possible with as many explosions. It's an example of a movie that should have stayed in a concept form and lowered down. But I do think it's better than the second and the fourth movie by far. Just someone in the right.
I'm sorry, the whole concept of the Litwickens is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
To half the ideas.
Well, saying it's better than the second or the fourth one, that's not a high bar to be better than.
I just love how that was their like incognito way of saying, oh, Sam Witwicky actually died at some point, and that's why he's not here anymore. Not because of Shia LaBeouf being Shia LaBeouf.
All right. Well, let's do our Cosplay Alliance rating. So out of 10, Cal, out of 10, what do you give it?
8.5. Can't quite decide.
You can't decide. Well, how about hold on. Try to get my trusty calculator up so I can get our average here. Why don't we give it 8.5 from you? Because probably my rating will knock it down a little bit. So
your rating is going to take our average from like an 8 to like a 5.
How about you, Kara? What's your rating on it?
When I first saw it, 6. When I thought about it and got rid of my Bayverse brain rot, 8.
8. Anthony?
7.5.
7.5. Bruno?
I'll give it an 8 as well.
8. Ryan?
7.5.
7.5. I'm a
And
4.
10.
And they're
I thought you
going
could say 2, yeah.
I'm giving it a 4. So that makes
that's surprising.
that makes it a 7.25 rating.
we got to keep it interesting. If we all agreed on the same thing,
Yeah.
See, exactly. There
one
must
of
be
us.
flavor.
Which-
There must be
which-
diversity.
You know what? 7.25 is a
Not bad at all.
decent viewing for the public.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
hardcores are going to be like, maybe hardcores would be like, that's a little bit lower, and casual fans would be like, man, this is awesome. So
Yeah, exactly.
7.25. That's fairly fresh on the CA meter.
I'd give it an 8.5 if they had more music callbacks. Like there was like a bit of G1, maybe I think there was like a little.
Oh yeah, the one
Prime
joke
note.
about
There was probably like
You
a
got
couple
the-
Prime notes, I think, and like
You don't have the
the
touch, you
Tomb of the
don't have the
Primes
power.
theme. Yeah, that was kind of funny.
I think if this was geared towards children, I think it was perfect.
Yeah.
The The pacing, the time of the movie, the length of the movie was perfect for kids. If that's what their intention was, I think it was perfect. This wasn't a movie that I was planning to see. I only went to see it because Kelsey really wanted to do the review of this. So I mean, and I'm happy because I actually enjoyed it, right? So I took my kid to watch it. And it was better than I expected it was going to be.
Hey Anthony, what did Elijah think of the movie?
Oh, he liked it. He loved it, and I think a lot of kids will. I mean, I think you guys know more of the lore and stuff about it, and so I mean, a casual fan going in just wanting to watch something on a Saturday night or Friday afternoon is gonna have fun watching it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Now, with everything, so let's take into account 40 years of Transformers. So we have the animated series, we've got Armada, we got Prime, we got Beast Wars, we've got the Bay movies. What is everyone's favorite? What is number one for Transformers? What is your absolute favorite segment of the Transformers franchise? Yeah, what's your favorite
TV shows and everything?
Yeah, TV shows, movies, everything. Anything that Transformers, any part of the series, whether it was a movie, TV show, what is your absolute favorite? And I'm going to start with Bruno.
My loaded question. I have a soft spot for Transformers Armada. I'm rewatching it, and it's terrible. But I watched it as a kid, and I will always have a soft spot for it. My favorite movie will always be Transformers 3, Dark of the Moon. I like the first one. The second one was my first time being able to go to theaters alone, but the third one was just a great blockbuster, and it was just at a good time in my life. Quality aside, for me personally, definitely Transformers 3, just as an experience, and the toys were really good at the time. Life was, I don't know how old I was. I wasn't a teenager age where I was superior than everybody. I was definitely one of those teenagers. So it was just Transformers 3 Dark of the Moon is my favorite Transformers media, even though Optimus was crazy and a murderer. It was a summer blockbuster and it was all five of them. All five.
Well, the first one he wasn't bad. He wasn't a murderer that much.
No, except for Bone Crusher.
We got Shockwave by number 3. That was good.
Yes. Yeah.
My guy right there.
Yep.
I would say Transformers 3 Dark of the Moon is my favorite Transformers piece of media if I had to say one. But there's been things here and there. I love every bit of it. The ones that are geared for kids like Earthspark and the ones that are geared for Americans like Bayverse.
Perfect. I'm going to go with Ryan. I think I know what your answer is for your favorite Transformers.
Well, then yes, go ahead.
I'm going to say 86. The movie.
Movies? Yeah.
No, but out of everything.
Out of everything. Do the comics count? Do the comics count?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say the IDW run, the original Marvel run, especially the later comics, because the early on, there's a lot of words on those panels, and it's hard to read. The pictures are small.
I can't read
a lot of words.
What's reading?
And the current Skybound, run on Transformers that's tied in with the new G.I. Joe and with the Void Rivals property is so good. If you're not reading it, you need to read it. So the comics are probably my favorite. And then G1, the 86.
Perfect. All right, Kelsey, how about you?
It's a tie between IDW Generation 1 and Prime. It's got to be a tie. I wouldn't be able to pick one over the other. And also, second place goes to Earthspark. I'm just so endeared by season 1 of that show. It is just the cutest thing ever.
That's another property where Megatron's good, is he not? I've only seen a little bit of it. Or at least he starts off.
He's complicated, is what he is. He's not an Autobot. He hasn't changed alliances. He has come on as basically like a consultant. He's like, okay, I am not doing what I've been doing for the last 4 million years. This isn't working. We're driving ourselves to extinction. I recognize that, and I'm going to try and fix it. This is how I'm going to fix it.
He's a quirky little fella.
Yep.
He sure is. And he's voiced by a really kind of a secret favorite actor of mine, so I was really happy about that too.
Who does the voice for him?
Rory McCann. He was the Hound in Game of Thrones. So all of a sudden, make sure it's Scottish.
Perfect. Kira, how about you? What's your favorite Transformers media?
I'm just gonna have to do a top 3 ranking. WatchMojo.com. Subscribe. But so 3 is probably Prime. 2 is G1 because I watched more G1 than Prime when I was a kid. And number 1, it has to be Bayverse. That's my introduction to Transformers. That's what I'm nostalgic over. And I even watched like the first one again, and it's like, yeah, the first one is still like, I still think it's an amazing movie. The second one I enjoy mostly because I love stupid humor. The third one is just off the walls insanity, and I love every second of it. Fourth one, there's some enjoyment aspects. Fifth one, we don't talk about it. But yeah, it's got to be Bayverse for me. I just need more Optimus flying into space and freezing, so that way he can find more enemies to spill their energy on to. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with Kira on that. I was introduced
That's
with
not
the
my
Bayverse
favorite
stuff.
Prime though.
Yeah,
It's not
the
my favorite.
Bayverse would be mine too.
Yeah, Transformers Prime is my favorite Prime. By the way, I'm not even kidding when I say that. I'm not like I just love that version so much.
For myself, like I love the first Transformers movie from 2007, because that's when you actually get the first live action and CGI
Yeah.
of Optimus Prime. So to hear Peter Cullen and one shall stand, one shall fall, it ends with you and me, like that's awesome. But I think as far as everything goes, one of the best storytelling was Bumblebee. I absolutely love that movie. It was
Very fair.
fantastic. I still think John Cena should. I think that's when they should have introduced G.I. Joe into the
We need more John
Transformers
Cena.
universe.
Always need more John
I think
Cena.
John Cena should have been Duke instead of Sector 7, and it would have been a great launching point.
Can I say something? Too?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Garrett. We're about to wrap up here, but yeah, final thoughts.
Yeah, just yeah, and can we just also acknowledge that Steve, what was it named? Steve Wojcinski or whatever his name was? Like
Buscemi?
what?
Starscream?
No, I'm talking about for film score. Like his last name's very long.
Jablonski.
He made one of the greatest film scores of all time, in my opinion, for Transformers 1. It is like one of the most iconic things to me, and I'm a huge film score guy, and that's why I really like the score in Transformers 1. Brian Tyler makes bangers. One of my favorite movies in the MCU, Iron Man 3. That's also one of my favorite scores in the MCU. Brian Tyler. I love Brian Tyler.
He also scored Prime, so.
Oh yeah, that's why it was so iconic too. Like I love the theme for Prime. There was a bit of that in Transformers 1, especially like Tomb of the Primes.
There was.
Brian Tyler likes to bring back his themes. Like he did that in Age of Ultron when Iron Man suited up. That was the last time you heard the Iron Man 3 theme in the MCU. Like Brian Tyler does nice callbacks, and I love that type of stuff.
Perfect. Well, I think we've got a good point here. We're going to wrap up the episode. Thank you again to our esteemed panel for joining us for Transformers 1. It was great hearing everyone's enthusiasm and love for Transformers. It's nice to get a bunch of people excited for robots that turn into vehicles. And next week on the show, we're going to be reviewing Joker. Isn't that right, Anthony?
Yep. We're going to see the movie on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll review it next Monday.
Next week. And then also coming up in the future, we're going to shake things up when it comes down to movie reviews. So we're going to have something fun coming up in the future to leave the Monday stream for talking about geek culture and general stuff. And we'll leave the movie reviews to a special time and date. And that way we'll be able to have our thoughts and be able to post at a later date. So it's something that works better with everyone's schedule.
We've got pretty much two new shows in the works coming. We're just trying to figure out how we can streamline it. But yeah, stay tuned.
So lots of great things coming to the Cosplay Alliance podcast, and everyone tune in next Monday, and we'll see you then.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
And they will not fly into space and freeze.
If you're watching this episode on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out other episodes of the Cosplay Alliance podcast. The Cosplay Alliance podcast is also available in audio format on all major